we are very fortunate to have 3 representatives from Marbridge. So before COVID, we started looking at residential living for Gwendolyn because she was ready. She told us she was ready. She wanted to take the next step on her independence plan. And we lived in Houston at the time, so we started looking around at different places in Houston, and honestly, one would think that there would be a lot of different housing options in Houston. And we looked at a lot of them, but we found nothing, and Gwendolyn as well, we found nothing that really fit the bill. So we went to Dallas, and we looked at several in Dallas, and still didn't find anything that was quite right. Then, I don't know why it took us so long, but we recalled a word that one of the big Down syndrome advocates in Houston had provided to us many years ago, Rosa Rocha, and she said that she was just in love with Marbridge. And so here we came to Austin right before COVID, and Jennifer and I took a tour, and we just loved it. And then COVID hit, and so we kind of put everything on pause, and about a year later, we started the process. And Gwendolyn came to visit a little bit after that, and we knew it was the right place. So while I would certainly suggest every family needs to find the right place for them, that we have just found it's the right place for us, and they provide so many different services and sustainable lifelong services as well, and it's right in our backyard. So Scott, Becca, and Marcus are here, and I'll leave the floor to you guys to share a bit about what's going on.
I'll start, and then you guys continue. First of all, thank you for allowing us into your home. So nice to meet all of you guys. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
I've read it. It's fantastic. I recommend it to anybody. I will make sure it gets some sales from Marbridge. My name's Scott McAvoy. I'm the Executive Vice President of Marbridge Foundation. Been fortunate to work there for the last 19 years. I'll be there 19 more. I'll probably retire before then. But and we have Marcus Mercer. He's our Vice President of Operations and Director of the Ranch.
For now.
That's a whole other thing. We're going through leadership changes right now. Our great CEO, James Stacy, of 20 years, is retiring. He's going to spend a year as emeritus. I'll take over as president on Friday. Marcus will be fully taken over in my position as Vice President of Operations, and Becca is going to be Vice President of Development. She is now. We'll continue to do the excellent work of helping us raise money to support our nonprofit. I could talk on forever and ever, so I'm going to try to make it brief, and Gwen could probably do a better job, and maybe I need Toastmasters help. But Marbridge, we're celebrating 70 years this year. So in 1953, Ed and Marge Bridges gave birth to started Marbridge. They had a son with developmental disabilities. They searched everywhere, long and far, for educational opportunities, residential opportunities, training opportunities, and could find nothing back in the day. And they looked all over the country. They found a couple of places, some that still exist, that weren't quite the right fit. As Steve said, Gwen and her family found the right fit. And I always advocate for choices. Look around the country to find the best fit for your loved one. But they decided to create their own place in Manchac, Texas. Manchac was a small farming community back then, so they created a farm and ranch community. Their goal was to make sure that residents had the opportunity to learn, experience, and achieve. They're busting the myths that people with disabilities couldn't learn, they couldn't get jobs, they couldn't support themselves, they couldn't be a self-supporting entity and not be a burden on society. Usually they put them back in institutions, the Institute for the Feeble-Minded, the Mongoloid Home, the Idiot's Asylum. They're true names, true institutions. They believe that people needed just custodial care. You got to protect the community from them. Times have changed, thank God. But the Bridges back then had the foresight to develop a community that main goal was to help the person be as independent as their abilities allow. So they focused on their strengths. They started farming, and they had a ranch out there. They started having, they had a hen farm, they laid eggs. They had a catfish farm. They had furniture making. They slaughtered cattle. They had hogs. And they just had businesses right there on campus. So over the years, we still have that same mission. We still create job opportunities that are a little more up to date. Gwen currently is working in one of our cafeterias and kitchens. Again, the goal is for her to live up to her abilities. If that's working in the community one day, so be it. So that's our goal. We teach and train residents how to live independently, and everything's about getting them to be as independent as they can be. So we have a large training education program with 22 instructors They go to classes each day, Monday through Friday. They like us to go to Saturday. There's 4 classes, 2 in the morning. They go back home for lunch. They come back for class in the afternoon. There's 150 different opportunities, meaning everything from 3 different levels of cooking, how do you cook for yourself, to financial budgeting, how do you manage a basic budget, to lots of electives, like we have like photography. Oh, you got something?
I got my schedule.
Oh, go get it.
Let me go get it.
Every resident has their own schedule, they're all unique, no 2 schedules are the same. But we also have job coaches or job coordinators. We coach them on campus and jobs on campus prior to going off campus, so they don't need job coaches by the time they get in the community. Right now, we've got about 29 residents working in the community with 25 different employers. We've got almost 50 on campus, I believe. COVID kind of put a damper, but we're back up and going. So the other class of photography, lots of nutrition and exercise classes, because we find that people need healthy living. We've got Bible classes for spiritual living, and they go to church at Choice on the Community, do a ton of things on the community. A great Special Olympics thing. You want to pass it around? You want to show people?
I got it.
Describe it. Pass it around. And so I'm going to stop there and I'm going to let Marcus and Becca describe the 3. We have 3 care communities on our 200 acres.
200 acres.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like the only way to kind of follow up from what Gwendolyn did is if we come in on a record. Yeah, so I'm Marcus. Nice to be here. Thank you for, as Scott said, thank you for allowing us to come to your home. Great job, Gwendolyn. You're doing a great job, right?
Yeah.
The term that Gwendolyn has used so much is independence, and Scott even reiterated it. And with the vision and everything that the Bridges had leading up today, how do we help support that? Like that's my job, that's our job, that's how we do that, because the journey is so different for every person. And in order to do that, we gotta make sure we have the right people, the right resources in place. And so for me, every day at the ranch, which is one of 3 communities at Marbridge, it's making sure that the team is taught and coached up in the right way to support every individual where they're at. The model that we go off of, and as we continue to shift, since Steve mentioned it, Gwendolyn's journey is her journey. And every last one of us have had a different path that we go. And so while we have over 200 residents on campus, everybody has their own path and journey and their goals. And Gwendolyn talks about moving to the village.
Yes.
What do those steps look like? When and if we get there, how we get there is a different path, but we try to look at it from a person-centered standpoint. All of us have different meanings and purposes and values, and so much that we can contribute to society, and that's where that started with the Bridges, because so many doors were closed on what could be, what society said was there, and you just keep bashing those barriers down. And that's what we try to do on a daily basis. Sometimes it's easier on some days, and some days it's harder, but trying to find a way in which we can advocate for the reasons why versus not. Because oftentimes we focus on start to finish, but we don't look at what happens in the middle, whether we succeed or not, and that's what we try to do on a regular basis. So at the ranch, that's one of 3 communities. We have 2 assisted livings on campus and 1 skilled nursing facility. I don't believe I heard Scott mention it, but you won't find another Marbridge, but there's 3 communities, including Marbridge, like it in the United States. And for every family that's gone down this journey and looking for what's right for their loved one, it may not be right. And small places keep popping up. Here you say you started in Houston, you started in Dallas, and here we are, and this kind of came around. So that's what I was sharing. That's what I was saying.
So I'm not as tall as Scott and Marcus. Can you hear me, right?
Becky, you don't need to be.
I do want to say thank you for allowing us the time. We have 3 care communities, the village, which is our most independent. We have an in-between, which is our ranch. Gwendolyn can share more about that one. And then we have a licensed skilled nursing facility, which is the villa. And, you know, I think Scott and Marcus really covered the gist of our history and what we currently do. But one of the things, if you haven't had the opportunity to meet Scott, next Friday he is our new president and CEO, but he's also one of the most intelligent people that you will ever meet in regards to working with adults and children with IDD. I know he will never say this, but he absolutely, TJ, Barbara, you can attest to this. He travels around the country and answers questions about housing opportunities, about setting up your own care community and what that can look like, the licensing regulations in the different states. Scott is just the expert, and I cannot tell you how many times a week he gets phone calls and emails asking for his expertise. So when the Friedmans called and said, can we meet, I kind of went, it might just be one of these normal programs. And then when you walk in and you get to meet the family, it is life-changing. And so to see you guys be so successful in this entity isn't just for you guys to be proud of. Our entire community surrounds you and is so proud of this book and what you guys have accomplished. So on behalf of all of our Board of Trustees and obviously all of our residents, particularly the ones at the ranch, we want to thank you guys for taking this step, because it's a vulnerable spot to be in. We know it's a vulnerable spot to be in the entire United States, especially in our current cancel community type atmosphere. And so for us to have that additional advocacy, it just makes a world of difference. So congratulations, and this night is completely for you guys.
Thank you very much.